Today, we're going to talk about personality. And to me, it's always interesting when you think about folks' personality and how they're going to interact with each other. And so hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll have picked up a few things as far as personality goes. Again, doing these kinds of presentations are for me because it gives me an opportunity to do a double check on how things are going for me personally and inside my company as well. A lot of times I think personality takes the blame. I think when folks are dealing with individuals, personality is what gets blamed. I think personality can be an easy target. It can be the first thing that you go to, well, this person's had that's the personality. We just typically want to start out blaming that personality. Personalities are something that you can't easily change in a person, and so it becomes an easy target for that kind of things as well. Personalities are ingrained in us. It's how we were raised. It's the atmosphere that we were brought up in that helps shape and mold our personality. It's how we act day to day. Personalities are really hard to fake. Most of you know David and him this year, and sometimes when he and I are talking, there'll be something that comes up about a personality, my personality, things like that when we're talking about things, and he'll say to me something like, well, that's part of your personality. You really like X. You're really this kind of person. And I'll go, no, I don't know if I am or not. He's like, no, you are, because you can't fake that. It is what, you are what you are. And so personalities become very hard to make up. Person's true colors really are their personality. Once a person starts inside of our organization, I have them take a personality test. I actually pay for them to take this personality test. It costs like $24.99, and I find that to be money well spent because I can figure out exactly how I need to communicate with that individual. And so DISC is one way of looking at it. There's several other different types of personality testing and things like that you can use. I threw this slide up, though, so that you can see there's pretty much 4 major types of personalities. The decisive, the lion is up there. And that's 10% of our population are decisive people, people that tend to be very driven. I think of the Donald Trumps of the world, those kind of folks. And they also tend to ask when about most everything. They want to know when something's going to be done, not necessarily how it's going to be done, but when it's going to be done. They're very driven, and they tend to not necessarily care how they communicate with people or if they hurt people's feelings or things like that. They're pretty much going to be straightforward with you. So those are 10% of the population. Eyes are interactive. If you need something, that's a little otter up there. Otters are always fun and playful. And eyes represent about 25% of our population. And we tend to lose focus. I'm an eye, so I relate with the things with eyes. Persuasive, expressive. Eyes are generally described as people that like to have fun and are very social and are worried about how people think of them. And so that's an eye, and they're, again, 25%. And we're always asking the questions about who, because we care about who we're going to be doing things with, who's on our team, those types of things. That's what we're going to ask. You need to get to know your staff personalities and how they need to be communicated to, and then how they're going to communicate back to you. That's a very critical part of this. You need to understand how to communicate to your staff, and you need to understand how they're going to communicate to you. That, for me, was a big part of getting to know people's personalities and understanding why some of the things I thought were working don't. I struggle with this every single day. I probably struggle with this because my method of communication, I have a lot of C's and S's in my office. And that's a good thing based on the type of work that we do. We want lots of C's and lots of S's. I am not those, and I tend to think that they're going to know what I'm thinking already. So I think things should be obvious to them, and it's not obvious to them. They need things very spelled out. And I have to sometimes stop myself, and when I'm writing an email or when I'm explaining something, put in more detail than I would ever expect someone to give me, because I don't need that level of detail, but they do. So you need to understand how to properly communicate. As a leader, should you adapt your communication techniques to better fit your staff personalities, or work to change the staff's communication techniques to better fit your own? I think as a leader, it is your job that you adapt your communication style as much as possible to meet the needs of your staff versus the staff meeting your needs. Although I do think the staff have a responsibility to try to figure out how to communicate as well. Inside of our office, again, I kind of told you early on that we all do DISC assessments. And so outside of each one of our offices is the results of our DISC assessment, so people can read how we want to be communicated with. And so that is my staff's responsibility to go through and know when they're communicating with each other how to do that and how best to make that happen. But I do think for myself as a leader, I really have to try hard to communicate with my staff the way they want me to. Do I make that mark all the time? Probably not. Probably 75-25. I think that's, for me, probably still a work in progress. But I do think you should strive to communicate with your staff the way that they need to be communicated to. And tell you that in 2015, we will be starting to register for our new webinar series. We have February, we're going to do Let's Start Communicating. In March, Cash Flow That Leads to Productivity Data. In April, I Love Personnel Evaluations. In May, we're going to have one called Chaos to Calm. And June, it's all about the brand. July is Common Sense. Where did it go? August, David's going to have Strategic Planning in a Chaotic World. September is going to be Why Decisions Seem So Hard. October is Why Risk It. And November is Budgets That Make Sense. So that's our lineup for our 2015 sessions, and you're going to be getting some more information about those from us as well.